When we think about prayer, especially the heart of prayer and what lies at the very basic attitude of prayer in the New Testament, we have to think about the prayer life of Jesus. Jesus cultivated a relationship with his Father. Even though he was divine, in his humanity, he was dependent on the Father, upon God's strength and wisdom through him. And so I want to look at a couple of incidents in Jesus' life that illustrate his relationship with the Father and how he developed that conversation with his Father. First of all, we see that Jesus was intentional about getting away alone to pray, even after a very difficult night of ministry. Mark chapter 1 tells us, see, in verse 32 through 34, that Jesus had been healing sick and demon-possessed people all night long. Everyone was gathered at his door, and he healed everybody and drove out demons. But it says, nevertheless, very early the next morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Eventually, verse 36 says that his followers came and found him, and they exclaimed, "Hey, everybody's looking for you. Where have you been?" And so Jesus had spent a difficult, grueling night, exhausted with all of his ministry labors, and then later on he found out everybody had expectations for him and they wanted his help, and yet in the midst of that, maybe even because of that, he got away while it was very early in the morning before anybody else was up and went off to a solitary place to pray. It was a priority for him to find time to be alone with his Father. Now, he also prayed about serious decisions when they came up. Luke chapter 6 talks about how he was about to choose the 12, these 12 men who were going to have a significant role in his ministry. And it says, one of those days, Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. And when morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he also designated apostles. And you can see the names of the different men who were designated as apostles there. And so this was a big event. It was central, pivotal to his ministry. And so he spent the whole night talking to God about what was going to have to be done. He spent the night in prayer. Now, we also find out that Jesus prayed spontaneously, intentionally, time away, but also spontaneously. And in Luke chapter 10, the backstory is he'd sent 70 of his followers out to do ministry, and when they came back and he was hearing about the reports of what they'd done, they were all excited about how they'd seen God work and powerfully move through them. And so Jesus was excited about that too, and he said, it says at that time, full of joy through the Holy Spirit, he said, "Praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned, revealed them to little children." He's talking about his disciples. They were ordinary people. They weren't wise and learned. And Jesus was so excited as he heard what they were doing that he just burst out spontaneously into this praise to his Father's work in their lives. And so what I wanted to demonstrate here by showing you these three simple vignettes is that the example of Jesus demonstrates how important it was to him to cultivate a relationship with the Father. He took time away. He did it spontaneously all day long. And at crucial moments, he was sure to talk to the Father about the things that were going on in his life, in his ministry. And so with that in mind, I want you to take a look at the questions in red and talk about how maybe what you've seen in Jesus' life applies to your life and how you pray to the Father.